Morning all, I'm Michael. I'm from the Centre for Hidden Histories, which is one of the 5 AHRC First World War engagement centres, and we're based at the University of Nottingham. The focus of all the engagement centres is to foster co-production and engagement with members of the community, with diverse communities, and with that we're working with the Heritage Lottery Fund and other organisations to facilitate that. Our particular focus at Nottingham is on the war beyond the orthodox view of the First World War, which everybody should be familiar with. The image of a skinny white Tommy going over the top, the poetry of Wilfred Owen, Blackadder and Baldric, those kinds of things. It was an element of the First World War, but it's not the entire story, so our interest is in looking beyond that. And to that extent, what we're doing is we're looking at the war as it impacted what are now the diverse communities in modern Britain, and our aim is to ensure that by the end of the centenary period, no community in Britain feels that the commemoration or the investigation or the history didn't belong to them as equal as it does to anybody else. The first group that we engaged with are a group who I'm pleased to say have joined us today of ladies from the Ramgharia board in Leicester, and they wanted to engage with the impact of the war on Sikhs and the role played by Sikhs in the war. And they've got some creative responses to that, which I'll let them share with you. But I just want to say that the relationship we had with them was brokered through Berta here from the Leicester City Council, and we found that to be an excellent way of engaging with communities, is using the local authority and existing networks and contacts that we had to expand our range. And I'm very pleased to say that this project is coming on very, very well indeed, and I have had very, very little to do with it, so I'm going to shut up now and let the people who've actually been doing the work speak for themselves.
Thanks for the disclaimer, Mike. That shows a lot of confidence. Let me just click this on. Is that right? Okay. Right, my name's Bert, and as Mike says, I work for Leicester City Council. At the time we started this project, I was standing in for the community education manager. So it was in that role that I was able to have a very small connection with a group of ladies in a Sikh temple in Leicester. And our very limited funding, because we are local authority, meant that we could just do a very small engagement with a one-off craft workshop. And it was lovely, you know, as you can imagine. We went to the Gurdwara and everyone had a great time with fantastic results. But we just sort of thought, oh, what a shame, you know, what a pity that Leicester City Council can't afford to do something more sustainable. So to our joy, when we heard about this source of funding, well, we kind of jumped at the chance, really, and connected with the ladies again to see if they're interested in doing a project. So let me just see how this... Okay, so I'm no historian, and I sort of thought, yeah, poppies and mud and poetry. The ladies had got some family anecdotes and a carefully preserved World War I uniform in a bedroom cupboard in Leicester that belonged to the grandfather of one of the ladies at the Gurdwara. Joyfully, we were able to get some academic input from Nottingham University. So we were able to put our own knowledge and anecdotes into some sort of historical context, and we got ideas for research projects, and this was the really important thing. Now, we all knew about poppies, and that's actually where we started, because we started off using a community tutor who taught the ladies felt making, and the very first thing that we did with the group was to sit and make handmade felt and poppies. So that was the very, very start, but we moved on from there. We used an image from an old photograph that was sort of the emblem of the Hidden Histories project to do an early sketch to form part of the the idea of a tapestry. Now, I keep using the word tapestry, and of course what the ladies have created isn't a tapestry in the traditional sense of being a woven tapestry. It's more inspired by sort of the Bayeux tapestry. It's actually more of an embroidery. But we think, you know what, the Bayeux tapestry has got like floods of people looking at it and thinking, isn't it marvellous? So we're not ashamed of calling ours, possibly a little bit inaccurately, a tapestry. Now, once we'd got going, we'd started taking it very seriously and realising the potential of this project. So we had the academic input, and we also had to talk very, very seriously and discuss the elements of design. When it was starting to take shape, quite a lot of people from Leicester started being interested, including Radio Leicester. When the first of the funds came through, the first investment that was made was a sewing machine. And there we are, learning how to work it. But here we are, seriously sewing now, and this was wonderful because although my original background, a lot of people from Leicester worked in the textile industry, and I was originally a knitwear designer in Leicester, so I sort of quite fancied myself as doing a bit of design. I felt quite confident in doing that. It didn't take long before the ladies at the Gurdwara started displaying their own hidden talents. Also advising on sort of the elements of Sikhism that were really important. Before long it was decided that incorporated in the first panel of the tapestry it would be good to have Guru Gobind Singh, who is a sort of a philosopher and poet, and the guru for the warriors, for the brave warriors, and it was decided to include him in the panel. Soon, some of the ladies proved that they'd worked in the textile trade, they had skills. The lady in this image here was a designer, and this lady was a former art student who we hadn't realised had got this amazing hidden talent. Images not just from World War I, but traditional elements from the Punjab were included. And this wonderful moment was when the ladies actually hosted a whole morning at the Gurdwara, something that is normally in the male domain, and astonished everybody, not just with the tapestry, but with the fact that it isn't just ladies doing some needlework. It was a group of people from the Sikh community, women, who had engaged in really serious historical research that had informed not just the tapestry, but had informed them, the community, and hopefully quite a lot of other parts of the community of Leicester as the project goes on. So I'm now going to pass over to Satvinder, Rajinder and Gulpreet, who are all from the Gurdwara in Leicester. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of this, and they want their slideshow. Okay. What's the second one? Oh, is it? It's the second one. Sorry. It's that one. Oh, it's this one, of course it is. We're going to have this.
Hello, my name is Satvinder Panasar and I'm the project leader of this group. We were very privileged to be able to be part of this project, and one of the things that we really wanted to aim for was to able to educate our community of the input of the Sikhs in the First World War. In our religion, we focus a lot on our gurus. We focus a lot on the 16th, 17th century and the battles that were fought against the Mughal Empire to preserve our religion. But what gets hidden a lot is the recent battles that have been fought, the Sikh input in the First World War and the Second World War. So when we had our first meeting with Mike Noble and Berta, they did tell us that actually in England, when students learn about the First World War, they always feel that it's a war that's fought by the Germans, the English and the French. and the European War. So we wanted to highlight the Sikh contribution to the First World War. And during the 1940s, when the First World War started, Sikhs were less than 2% of the Indian population, but they formed 22% of the Indian army. And they sacrificed their lives because during the fighting in Belgium and France, there was 138,000 Indians that fought in the war, and a quarter of them were casualties, and the majority of them were Sikhs. So what we want to show you first is our tapestry, and then I'd like to talk to you about the research that we've done and what we want to actually do with our tapestry. As Berta explained to you earlier, our religion is based on a very spiritual element. Everything that we do in our day-to-day life, whether it is a family function or whether it is somebody going out to fight in a war, we always go to our spiritual leaders. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji, who was our 10th Guru, he was known for his fighting skills because he led the army to fight against the Mughal emperors. So every Sikh soldier looks to Guru Gobind Singh Ji as the spiritual leader. And in our tapestry, we had Guru Gobind Singh Ji looking down on the soldiers. And if you look on the left-hand side, there's actually a scripture of a poem that was written by Guru Gobind Singh Ji when he was in despair fighting in a battle. And it is a Sikh national anthem that is always recited before people go out to battle. The poppies. Last year, as part of our research, we went to the Tower of London and we saw the beautiful ceramic poppies. So in our group, we have a mixture of ladies. Some of the ladies are in their 80s and our youngest one is in her 30s. Some of the elderly ladies, they can't embroider, but they do have very good knitting skills. So we wanted everybody to be able to make a contribution to our wonderful tapestry. And obviously the starting point was the beautiful poppies that we actually saw at the Tower of London. We were very fortunate that year to actually go to an exhibition called Empire, Faith and War, which was held at the Brunei Gallery, and we learnt a lot about the Sikhs fighting in the First World War. When they went to France, they went from a very hot country, they went to a country where their uniforms were very, they were catered for hot weather. They froze, a lot of them froze to death. There was a language barrier. So not only were they having to go to a foreign country, but the culture of that country was very different. When we went to the exhibition, there was a lot of photographs shown there of the reaction of the French people to Sikhs, because the Sikhs had travelled over in ships. When they saw them that they'd got long hair and beards, they thought, oh, because they've been travelling, they've not had an opportunity to shave or anything. So the first thing was to actually offer them blades to say, cut your hair, you know, and sort of shape up. And the French were very impressed by the stature of the Sikh soldiers, 6 foot above, and they were very pleased and they had a very warm welcome because they felt that somebody had come to actually protect them. Another thing that we researched and we found out about that exhibition was the fact that Sikhs weren't used to fighting in trenches. They were used to face-to-face battle. So then to be sort of hidden in a trench, they found it very, very difficult to then sort of go into trenches and stay there. What we wanted to do was, part of the hidden histories was to actually unveil some of the treasures that we have in our Sikh culture. And being women, we wanted to find out about women's role in the First World War as well. I mean, in Britain, when you watch the programs, you can see that women went to work in factories. What did the Indian women do when the Sikhs went out to war? So we wanted to look into that. But something that was quite fascinating that we found was Princess Sophia, who was the granddaughter of the last ruler of the Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. She played a very active part in the war in Britain. Not only was she a suffragette, but she was also a nurse, and she played a big part in actually helping Sikhs to convalesce in Brighton. A lot of the Indian soldiers came back to this country if they were injured, and their normal place of convalescence was in Brighton. I don't know whether any of you are aware of the Chhatri Memorial in Brighton, but any Sikh soldiers or Hindu soldiers that actually died in the Brighton hospital were actually cremated there, and a memorial has been built to commemorate their memories. So what we wanted to do is, we've got this tapestry, but behind the tapestry there is a story. And our aim is, we are working on 2 other tapestries. The next tapestry that we're doing is going to depict all the memorials that are the famous World War I memorials. We will have the Chhatri Memorial that will be displayed. We will have the cenotaph that will be embroidered. We come from Leicester, and we have a lovely memorial at the Victoria Park. And what's quite interesting is that the 2 memorials, the cenotaph and the Victoria Park Memorial, were designed by the architect Lutyens, who actually designed quite a lot of war memorials. But not only does he design war memorials, but he was very well known for designing a lot of buildings in Delhi. And so the link between India, Leicester, and the memorials, it was very fascinating, and we want to incorporate that into our tapestry. We want to aim to embroider 3 tapestries, and when we have done them, the second tapestry will be of the memorials. The third tapestry will actually be depicting Sikhs' lives, family lives, when they came from the Punjab, how they went to France and different Gallipoli, they fought in Gallipoli, all the different countries that they fought in. But what we want to do is, we want to take these tapestries out to schools, because what we want to do is to actually educate children and show that the Sikhs played a very valuable contribution in the First World War. When we did our presentation at our local Gurdwara, we had about 150 attendees that came, and they were very impressed. I think first of all they were impressed that we ladies could actually do a very good programme, and it was very organised, which is usually, as Berta said, male dominated, and I think we might end up taking over the Gurdwara. But also what that showed was that how interested our own community are, and how, especially the women, they felt that they wanted to be part of this project. There's 14 of us that are part of this project, and it's shown that actually, you know, going forward, we would like to develop this project further, even after we finish the tapestries. Is that okay? Right. Thank you, everybody.